Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you hear some rumblings in the background, oh, here comes the clippy clops of a dog. You gotta stop, guys. We don't have rugs yet. No. Go see Dad, please. You guys are too loud. And out they go. Are they gonna make it? They kind of stopped. Okay, well, if you hear little clippy claps, those are the two doggies. And if you hear a big rumble, it is not my tummy. It is thunder outside. Apparently, it's the start of monsoon season. The husband doesn't think so. He grew up here and he's like, no, it doesn't start till August. But we've had multiple storms already in the past week. Actually, I only know the past couple days because I've been gone forever. Oh my gosh. It's just been nonstop. like nonstop. I'm not even joking. Like we move in and then I go to Louisiana from a Wednesday to a Sunday. I got back last night at 1 in the morning. I get up, I go to work. I come home for maybe 10 minutes, and then the husband had a test screening of his movie that's coming out. So I was there for a while. I just barely got home, did my notes, and here we are. It's a whirlwind. We still have so many boxes I need to unpack. My sister's coming for a couple days this week as well. So there's just no break, which is fine. It keeps us busy, keeps us happy. And yeah, we're just living our best lives. I haven't put together any sort of room for recording. So I'm definitely not filming myself, for a while until I finally find time to put everything away. But enough of that. We're going to talk about this book because I'm angry with y'all. I'm not angry. I'm mad. Not mad, but I'm just why would you guys do this to me? Why have you not told me of these books that we're going to talk about today? Why has nobody told me? I've seen them around. Nobody has really talked about them on TikTok unless I really just have missed the ship. I probably am sitting at the dock all alone because the ship has already gone and sailed. Nobody's coming back to get me. I love this book, which we're going to talk about it. I know I always say we're going to talk about it a little bit, which we will. But I've realized the past couple of episodes, I haven't done the mother-sister standard. And I would tell you guys if they would read it. So just assume if I don't mention it, that they probably wouldn't read it. And that's the same with this book. There is quite a bit of spice, but I feel like it's kind of classy, but still smut and still spice and still descriptive, but it's not a crass descriptive. I don't know. He kind of dirty talks to her, and I'm still trying to, not blush when I read these, but it's I don't know. I just really liked it. But with this is a contemporary book where it's not fantasy, and you know that my sister loves fantasy. And I only recommend contemporary books to my sister or my mom when it's I don't know, something that they're interested in. For my sister, she is a military wife, and so I knew that she would really like Rebecca Yarrow's military series, and my mom really liked them too. And so I was yes, they're gonna love these. It'll be great. They were spicy, but they just kind of skipped through them. But with this, I don't really know how my sister feels about billionaire, grumpy, arrogant men, I will actually have to ask her, but my mom for sure wouldn't like it. I think that she would be appalled at this book. I don't know why. I just feel like she would be. So I'm going to say a no to my mom for sure. I don't know about my sister. I think I might try to have her read this just to see if she does like this type of trope and genre. So it's TBD on her, but it is pretty spicy, so she'd have to skip through it. But the thing about this book is that it's not centered around the spice. Like it's not everything. Like they are spicy, but there's just so much more to this story than the sex and the spicy and all of it, you know? There's just so much more to it. And so that's another reason why I really like this book and why I'm mad at y'all that you haven't told me about it. I saw this book. Who was it? I saw it on an Instagram of like a celebrity that they were like reading it by the pool. And I thought this book was completely different. Like I have read or I attempted to read a book that I thought was this one, if that makes sense. And so whenever I saw this on like my Kindle and around, I was like, no, I attempted to read that. I didn't really like it. But once I saw that celebrity, I really wish I knew who it was. I was like, okay, maybe I should like look at it because a lot of people started mentioning it more, and it's been on a lot of people's lists. Like it's a go-to. Like people really like it. So I was like, maybe I should try again. And I got through the first page, and I was like, wait, this is not the book that I thought that I was reading, like or had read. You know what I'm saying? So I just kept reading, and I got absorbed. And when I went to Louisiana this past week, we went up or over to Alabama into the Gulf Shores. We were able to go to like the beach and get some sun. And on the flight over, I was rereading Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I don't know what it is, but that is literally one of my favorite books. I love it so much. And I was reading some passages to my friend because she was the one that finished the ACOTAR series, and now she's on like I think the third or fourth book of the Blood and Ash series, and she's loving it. And so I was like reading her some passages or like paragraphs from this Tessa Bailey book because I was like, contemporary is completely different than fantasy. Like fantasy is kind of like about flowery words. Like I don't know, not all the time, you know, but like they describe like, oh, down my core and all these different things that she's like, why can't they just like tell me the facts? Like why do they have to like paint the story? I'm like, because it's fantasy. Like they have to paint the story because it's completely made up. Like they want to make sure that you're aware of this. But with contemporary, they get right into the smut. They get right into the description because they don't have to paint the whole picture for you. They use their dirty words, and we're here for it. And so I was reading some paragraphs for her, and she was like, oh my gosh, I need to read this. And I was like, yes, please do. So she's going to read that. But I also recommended this book because I think that she would really like it. Because who is not down for a billionaire, grumpy, arrogant man, arranged marriage? I mean, my mom and sister, obviously. But if you're like me, I love this little genre, this little trope. I love reading like V. Keeland. Her books are kind of like this, where it's like they're these businessmen, they're lawyers, they're like very corporate and very kind of straight, strict, like serious. And then the main female character, she could be serious, but usually they make him kind of fun and a little bit opposite of the male character. And I just live for it. I don't know why. Probably because I'm like in the corporate world that I just like, oh, I thrive on it. So when I started reading this and I was like, this is so good, I devoured it. So I started reading it at the end of the trip because I had to finish Fangirl Down, obviously. So I was reading it, and then I had like a 5-hour flight back home, and I read it the whole time. I think I finished it actually on the flight too. And it was incredible. There was a funny moment on my first flight because I had to fly. I had to go to Atlanta and then over back here to Arizona. So I was reading it on my first flight, and there was a guy sitting in the middle seat, and I could tell that he was like looking over, like reading what I was reading. And it wasn't to a spicy part, but I could tell that it was about to be. And I straight up looked at him and I was like, I don't know if you want to be reading what I'm reading. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, that's all I said. That is all I said. And I was so like, I felt like I had to hide my screen from people because I'm like, what if someone's reading over my shoulder? But then by the second flight, I was like, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care. I am in the story. They are getting frisky. I am here for it. And I don't care what anyone else thinks because I'm never going to see them again. So I was into it. And then at the very end of the flight, when we landed here in Arizona, one of the guys sitting next to me, he was at the window seat. We didn't have a middle seat. But he looked over at me and he was like, did you read the whole time? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, it would hurt my eyes. I'm like, sir, you must not be a reader then. I didn't say that, obviously. But in my head, I was like, throw my hair over my shoulder. That's called a reader. Anyways, let's get into this book because it was so good. Like, I am so excited to start the second one, but I just haven't had time. I'm hoping tonight, depending on when I like edit this episode, I'm hoping to get like a couple chapters in, but I don't know. Like, I'm excited. I loved it. Like, incredible. So this is The King of Wrath, and it's crazy that I'm just mentioning the title of it and we're like 10 minutes in. But this is The King of Wrath by Anna Huang. Huang? I don't know to say your last name, girl. I'm so sorry. It's Huang. Huang. We'll say Huang. But it's The Kings of Sin, book 1. And I want to say that there's like 3 or 4 books. So I'm just really excited. Like, they're standalones, but they also are like acquaintances of each other. Like, I already know who's in the second book. And I'm so excited. It's so Vivian, she is the main female character. It's one of her best friends that is in the second book. And I'm so excited. Like, they're all grumpy, rich, billionaire men. And this whole time during this book, I was like, oh, I can't relate. I can't relate. Like, she drops like $250,000 on this necklace. And I was like, can't relate, but I can imagine. Like, that's one of the reasons why I love reading these types of books, because it just makes me imagine, like, oh, what would I do or buy? Like, if I had billions of dollars and like, what would I do? Like, I don't know. And just to like kind of read the difference between like old money, new money, and how there's such like a stark difference in society with that. I was like, I know nothing, but I feel like I'm an expert right now. Okay, so let's really get into it. We have our billionaire, ruthless, arrogant, grumpy Dante. He is Italian. He is the CEO of a huge luxury company that owns like a lot of little like other luxury companies. He doesn't want to get married. He doesn't have the time. He's 37. He just wants to live his life. His grandpa raised him and his brother, and I believe he died like that same year or the year before. And then Dante took over as CEO. And that's just what he grew up knowing and doing and going to school for. Like, he was just born and bred to be the CEO and take over for his grandpa. So then we have Vivian. She is a jewelry heiress. She's from New Money. So she received a trust fund when she was 21. But she is a boss bitch. Like, she earns her own money through like event planning. She has her own event planning business. She works really hard. Like, she doesn't rely on like her parents' money. Like, I mean, with the trust fund, yes, but like, she wants to do it herself, which I really admired about her. And it was one thing that I really liked about this story is that Vivian can remember what it was like when they weren't rich. Like, this family hasn't always been rich. Like I said, they're New Money. And it was when she was a teenager that her dad's jewelry company really took off. And they were a small family-run shop to basically a multinational, like, behemoth. Like, just went crazy. So they're hella rich. And her parents changed. Like, of course, everyone changes with money, but her parents really changed. Like, they are all about status and rising above everyone else. Like, that's all they care about. And so it just sounds like it was really hard growing up with them. And so she is at one of her events for like these socialites. Like, it's good that she is kind of in kind of these social circles because that's where she's gotten her business and it's really grown her name. And so she's able to really like create this name and business for herself. So she gets a call from her father saying that she needs to be at dinner that Friday. It's currently Tuesday in Boston where they live. And she lives in New York, which that's another moment where I was like, oh, I can't relate. Like they can literally just jump on a jet or jump on a flight. No big deal. Don't have to worry about money. Like done, you know? I just imagine. I mean, I can't imagine. It would just be crazy. And that happens a lot in this book too, where Dante's like, "Oh, just use my jet." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just use your jet." Like, cool. So Vivian knew that she most likely would have an arranged marriage at some point, just because her parents want to, I don't know, be in this society so badly. I guess arranged marriages are very common practice in their world of like big business and power plays where marriages weren't love matches, they were alliances. But of course for like the media, they put it off like it's a love match. And I really do wonder how often that is. Like if that is legitimate, that you see all these big people like get married and it's like, no, they're actually not in love. Like it's purely business. I'm sure it happens a lot. So yeah, she knew that most likely she would have an arranged marriage. She's, I believe, 28 or 29. And she just didn't know when it would happen. Like her parents gave her a chance to find someone. And she did. She found a really great guy and he was an entrepreneur and he had this like cloud-based app and it was doing really well. But because he wasn't influential enough and didn't have enough money and name, they made her like break up with him. They were like, no, you're too good for him. Like he doesn't have a name for himself. So he kind of comes into play a little bit in the story just to make like Dante jealous. And he tries to like win her back, but she's like, no, I'm sorry. Like I can't do this. So there's like little moments in there where you meet this ex-boyfriend. And then we have Dante. So this is one book where I really liked the dual point of view because we find out all about him. It's not just like what she has heard, or it's not just like this common information that we learned through the timeline, you know? We like actually learn more about him. And we find out that, yes, his grandpa did raise him and his brother. His parents live in Bali. They never really wanted to be parents. They just wanted a kid to be their heir, you know, like to take over for the business because Dante's dad just didn't want it. He didn't want to be in the business. He wanted to go do his own thing with his wife. And so they were never parents to them. And I think that was really sad. And you see Dante go through a lot of different emotions and work through a lot of different problems and have a lot of growth in this book, which I really liked. And we also find out that the Friday that Vivian goes to dinner with her parents, that she is in arranged marriage with Dante. And he's there at the dinner. He's not happy. He's really rude. He's really angry. She doesn't understand why. Like, okay, then why are you agreeing to marry me? Like, I don't understand. We get the behind the scenes that her dad is actually blackmailing Dante. And we get this pretty quick in the story. So it's not like huge spoilers. Because you see them just like grow their relationship, and there's not a lot of like twists and turns in this book really. It's really well laid out, and so you kind of know, it's kind of predictable of what's going to happen, but you're just along for the ride because you like these characters. So her dad, Vivian's dad, is blackmailing Dante, and her dad had took pictures of Dante's brother with the head of the mafia's niece. And I guess the head of the mafia, which, hello, it's the mafia. He's very protective of each family member. So if he were to get these pictures, like he would kill Dante's brother. So Dante was like, what do you want? Like to like get rid of this, like for these to never come to light. And he's like, you're going to marry my daughter. Like, we're going to have these connections. Like, I am going to get this exclusive membership to this exclusive club because of you. Like, her dad is just power hungry. Like, he just wants to be on top. And multiple times throughout the book, he lectures Vivian saying, like, do you know how hard we worked for this? Just like really belittles her, and he just wants to crush everyone. And it's very frustrating. You feel her frustration. You're frustrated for her. Like, it's really rough. So in the meantime, Dante's like, fine, I will marry her in a year. And he has his security company trying to find these pictures that Vivian's dad took of Dante's brother. And he knows that there's multiples, and he's also basically creating the demise of this jewelry company. And he's like, you mess with me, I'm going to bring you down, and I'm going to ruin your name. And he doesn't care what he has to do for it. So he's like, I have a year. We're not actually going to get married, but I can plan all of this. Everything will be great. So, of course, they don't get along at the beginning. Like, she moves into his penthouse, and they just kind of go through the motions of their life. They have these pretty big fights, and then they call a truce. And she's like, we should probably try and get along. Like, let's go on a date every week. And that's when we really start to see Dante blossom, where he's like, oh, you actually want to spend time with me? Oh, I actually like this. And oh, I like these feelings that I have. And they do get spicy, but they don't actually have sex until like more than halfway through, because once they kind of get like really spicy, he pulls back and he's like, no, I can't do this. Like, I can't have feelings for her. I can't lead her on because I'm just going to destroy her and her family. Like, I can't have this. And so he's very like controlled, actually. And then, of course, eventually they do it, and it's like perfect. So there's like this really great sexual tension throughout the book that I was just like on edge. I was like, I'm so excited for them to actually do it. Like, this is incredible. Like, just how the author like built these characters and the relationship and the tension. Oh, it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So yeah, they make this truce. They go on their dates. They visit his parents in Bali for Thanksgiving. They spend Christmas with her family. Like, her dad and Dante, of course, don't get along. In the meantime, these pictures are being destroyed, and he's coming up with this plan. And her parents still treat her terribly. Towards the end, she does find out about the blackmail. And at this point, Dante, he's like, I love this girl. Like, I love her. Like, I can't let her go. And so she thinks that they broke up because she's like, you did this to me. Like, I don't understand why you couldn't talk to me about this. And she thinks that they're broken up. And so she goes and confronts her dad about what he did, and he disowns her. And she's like, fine, I lost Dante. I lost my family. Whatever. But he fights for her. Dante fights for her. He like comes to her and he's like, no, we're not breaking up. Like, we're just fighting. Like, we're going to figure this out. And it's actually him that makes all these like first moves. And he's like, no, I want you in my life. You're incredible. Like, my life is better because of you. Like, we're going to figure this out. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that. Like, it wasn't like a mutual, like, oh, maybe we should try. It was like, he is fighting for her, and she's like, I don't know, like, we have to take it slow. And so he starts from the beginning. He starts to like, he introduces himself. It's really cheesy, but like, they go on these little dates, and he's just so thoughtful. Like, he's a complete different person than at the beginning of the book. And I loved that. You see his sweet side and tenderness. And just to see like their relationship grow again, it's perfect. Like, I absolutely loved it. And I also like a protective male character, but I don't like when they're so protective that they don't let the female character shine, you know? They don't let her like be her own person. They're just kind of smothering. But Dante was not that. Like, he, of course, is very protective of her, but he just like let her flourish, let her speak her mind, let her kind of like fight for herself, but also he's there to support her in case like she does need him. It was great. It was overall so great. And so that's why I'm mad at everyone, because this book was not recommended to me earlier. Like, I had to find it through TikTok. I just, yo, you gotta send me these suggestions. Like, I had no idea. But it was so good. Like, I loved it. Loved the characters. Loved the pacing. It was so, like, at no point was I like, okay, what's going to happen? So good. Incredible. The writing was so good. I could imagine every single thing. I could think about, what if I was in that situation? I could think about, like, oh, what if I was rich? Would I spend $250,000 on a necklace? I don't know. Probably. And it was so good. Like, I can't stress it enough. Like, I'm so excited to start the second book because it was just so great. And I'm just a sucker for a good, grumpy, like, billionaire. He doesn't even have to be a billionaire. I'm just good for, like, a grumpy male character and, like, a sweet sunshine character. Like, Vivian was funny. Like, she was witty. She had her sarcasm. She, like, took life, like, not so serious, but also serious. Like, she was so great. Like, I loved each character. I didn't have any complaints about them. And that's kind of rare for me. Like, sometimes I don't know, for the most part, I can pick out like one or two things where I'm like, I didn't really like that about the character. I didn't really like that. They were great. I loved them. I love these two people. Wish that they were real. And so then I could really meet them, and then I could become like, a surrogate daughter. I don't know, sister, friend, anything. I just want to know how these rich people live. That's all I want to know. But anyways, yeah, I put my TBR up on my Instagram. So definitely check that out. I'm going to try and stick with it. I'm not saying that I will 100% stick with it, but I'm sure going to try because they're all really great books. At least they look like it. So yeah, that has been up. Definitely follow me on social media. I'm going to say the same thing every episode. Follow me on social media wherever you listen to this episode. If you could rate and review, that definitely helps me out. Of course, I am in the downslope of being on social media because I've been so busy, but I'll get there again. I'll be present soon. But yeah, I appreciate you guys and your patience and everything, the community that we've built. And I'll talk to you next week.